Hey,
Ah,
what's
how
going
are you?
on?
I'm good. How are you?
Woo! Another day in the life.
I know.
Another day in the life.
Uh, it's. I just want to say one. I'm so excited. If you don't even know how much of a fan I am of yours, like
Oh, you're so sweet.
we're gonna get into like the nitty gritty part of that later on.
Okay, okay, cool.
So welcome to Where's the Buzz TV. I'm so excited that you're joining us.
Thank
Um,
you.
I do want to first start off saying like, how are you doing mentally? What's your psyche like right now? There is so much on. Specifically within the Black community, we have another man, a Black man who was, fatally shot in Los Angeles. For those who do not know, please go and check that out. Of course, watch with your own caution. But how are you
Yeah.
right now?
Not great, to be honest. It is, this moment is difficult in ways that I can't even fully put into words yet because not only is just there like the trauma and the pain of seeing this stuff happen and having to just process that throughout your day or throughout your week, that this has happened again and it's happened again and it's happened again and it's happened again. Just that part is really hard. But, being in Hollywood, I am a part of a system that is riddled with, you know, problems and things that need to change systemically. But to remain a part of that system, I have to play along in some areas. It's very confusing, actually. And ultimately, the goal is to dismantle these systems, but we're all in them at the same time, and so it's a mind fuck. It really is. But
Yeah,
I think that is, that's what I make my art about. And so at the end of the day, I have to choose gratitude and just sort of be like, I'm able to observe this and put it into something, you
absolutely.
know, at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Patrice Cullors, Black Lives Matter co-founder, she actually had said that she's calling for Hollywood to do a stoppage of people, producing work and Black people in particular, going with that boycott that some of the professional world has been doing. What do you
Mm.
think about that? I mean, I know, like, we're still trying to get our, feet wet in a lot of different ways. And like you just said, there's a part of that we have to play along with. So what are your thoughts in regards to that? I'm not sure if you know about that story or not.
I actually didn't know about that. I mean, look, I'm all in support of what I think can work, and I think the truth is that there's a lot of battles to fight. It's not one battle, and there's a lot of different tactics to fight that battle. And I think that it just depends on the situation. Like, if I was in a scenario where like boycotting meant not having a chance to finish my show, Dear White People, or say the things that this season I want to say, I would have to give it some thought because that's a sacrifice that isn't just about me. It's about a lot of people who are getting their income, and it's about like my ability to tell stories in the future moving forward. So I don't know. I mean, the shitty thing about this time is that there actually aren't, in my opinion, black and white easy answers.
Right.
Um, it just it's I think you've got to like sort of focus on the lane that you're in and try to figure out like what's the best way to change that lane. Um, and do what we can, as a people on the national movement front, but I think it's like one of those things where you can't just sort of like have a position and then sail through. Like it's
Right.
like let's get into it. Let's talk about it. How are we gonna make it work? It was my
Exactly.
is I have questions more than I have like
Language.
definitive yes or no.
Right. Right. No, exactly. Exactly. And it puts Black creatives in such a hard place because some of us we're just now getting to that point where it's like, okay, we're getting back to back, jobs and different opportunities. So I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dear White People, Volume 4,
Hmm.
do you think, I mean, obviously I'm assuming Rona got in the way of production.
Oh yeah. Big time. Rona and racism. I think that we have the season written. We have been given sort of like COVID protocols. We have been engaging in conversations about salaries and budgets and all that kind of stuff. And there's a world in which we could shoot it this year. And I don't know, my sort of like optimism about that is you have to check in with me by the hour, by the day. But there's a plan in place to potentially shoot it this year. And this season says a lot of things that I desperately would like to say in this moment, and I think it would be great to conclude this series, in the right way. But I'm also really eager to conclude it and to, as a person, as an artist, move on and tell other stories.
Do you? Oh, so Volume 4 will be the wrap up for
Well,
like.
yeah, Volume 4 was renewed as the final season last year. So, that wasn't necessarily my choice. But it is sort of an opportunity to finish it. And, maybe there'll be spin-offs and all that. I don't know. That a lot of that is really, it's super not in my hands. So
Yeah.
I just have to see what the marketplace wants from me.
Well, again,
Uh,
please check it out while you can. It's on Netflix. I mean, it'll be on there forever. But at the same
yeah, and it surprises me how evergreen it is. Like just as an exercise of preparing for the season, I was watching it again right
time.
around the time the George Floyd protests started happening, and I had my catharsis. I was able to cry. I was able to be comforted. I was like, this is so weird. It's like I'm eating my own chicken soup here, but like I forgot how
Mhm.
many of these little moments we sort of painstakingly try to touch on because it's not really, I think the show maybe comes off as an issue show, but it's about the people. And it's about the way their lives are affected underneath these like issues that seem really easy to argue, but actually like there's a messy ass life underneath that. And, it was kind of nice to at least be able to know that I made something that contributed, to the world.
Absolutely. And one thing that I like is that you don't only get the story of Black people, you also get stories, whether they're brief or not, you get stories of the Latinx community. I know
Mm,
the first season, there were two Latinx workers who were in the background and they were like, oh, I wish I could vote. And I think I think it's one thing that I love about you and what you do is you are so elaborate in how you work. I never
mm,
see anything that's like questionable with your craft. It's always like,
mm,
laid that out so well. There's nothing that I'm like, there's no loopholes or anything that I'm missing from it. Lay it out just, straightforward. And with each volume, you care so much about your characters and their intricate stories that you knock down another wall. So I
mm.
applaud you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, that's always the goal, We always try to do the best we can with the resources we've got.
Yeah. And you do
So,
a job. Like you seriously do from the film. Like for the people who have not seen, like if you've seen the Netflix series, still go back and watch the movie because I love the movie as well.
thank you.
Did you know that you like because in volume 3 you created your own character, which is it's starring yourself. Did you
Oh,
already
yeah.
did you know you wanted to do that the entire time, or was that something that you just kind of?
I really wanted Tyler to be in the show. I hated that there was this like perceived rift between our ideologies, but also between, some of my audience and him, because I actually don't think that that's really, I think the system is designed for us to sort of attack each other and to sort of yell at a black artist to say, why aren't you telling my stories? But in fact, like we should be yelling at the system, like, why aren't you letting more people tell their stories?
Yeah,
And I wanted to kind of have that out with him. And so that's actually really where it began. And, when that didn't seem like it was going to be possible, uh, I sort of felt like, I was reading him in the table reads anyway, and I sort of started in the theater and, have had experience acting and stuff, although I don't think of myself as an actor. And like Yvette, our showrunner just turned to me one day and was like, you should just do it. And I felt like maybe I should, because like if it's me, I can make sure that this doesn't come off as like just shade, which it could,
hmm
or like a caricature or like a parody, because it's actually not. It's actually like this. I actually feel like I have things in common with this man, and I want people to feel that and see that. So that's kind of what motivated me to just do it.
yeah. No, one thing I love the line that you have with Sam, where you're saying to her, "Look around you and use your
Mm,
allies that work with you." I've heard that a lot within the industry, especially within Black Hollywood.
yeah.
One thing that I love about you, again, I've watched your growth through the years, and it's beautiful to see you grow along with your peers, like Issa,
Mm.
Waithe, and seeing you guys like be super young, and now you guys are like on and popping and being on the cover of Variety and all these different things.
Now we're super old.
Yeah, well, not even. What
I'm
you
kidding. I'm kidding.
but um what is it like growing, not only seeing Black people thrive, but seeing your friends in particular thrive? And what is it like when
Oh,
you guys get together? Do you guys share advice with each other's projects before you?
we try to. I'm always preaching that like we need to have what Spielberg and Lucas and Brian De Palma and Scorsese and all of them had, where they just got together, they showed each other their movies. I think that like for the Black community, we're just getting past this crabs in a barrel bullshit where we feel like we have to be like against each other to win. Like we are just getting past that. And so but yeah, it's especially among the people that you just mentioned, it's very rare that one of us will have a project and not sort of talk to the other about it in some regard. And I fucking love it, man. I love seeing Black people win. I really do. Like I love directing. It's like what I was born to do. But like the next best thing, and sometimes the best thing about doing my show is like getting to see directors do their thing in an environment that like they normally wouldn't have. Like Tiffany Johnson is like one of my favorite fucking directors. She's also one of my friends. And, on my set, she gets to do whatever the fuck she wants. And I love that. And I love being able to create space for that. So for me, I don't know. I feel like it's where I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely, it is. And speaking of your projects and how amazing they are, I'm so excited for Bad Hair, which will be on.
Oh, yeah, that's coming.
No, so it tells the story of an ambitious Black woman who is succeeding in this image-based world, as you
Yeah.
guys described it. But she gets a weave, and so this weave eventually starts to have a mind of its own. What sparked this? What I also love too is that you named your leads after your mom and her sisters, which is
Yeah.
so also Japanese and Korean horror film based. You got a lot of references for that. Tell me about this project and what inspired you to make it.
Yeah, so Bad Hair came about because one of the producers of Dear White People, right after Sundance, actually was talking about this movie called The Wig, and just how crazy it would be as an American remake or something. And I watched the movie, and I just completely rabbit holed into this. Like hair is actually a major horror element in Korean and Japanese and in general just Asian horror films. But there's specific films about like enchanted wigs and like possessed weaves and I just like kind of rabbit holed into that. And what became kind of a joke, I actually like my mind started to construct this story. And I realized that like, the cool thing about there's two things about doing a horror movie or like a psychological thriller that I love. One, there's an expectation that the director is going to pour their weirdest fucking obsessions into it. So like that's just like okay, and I'm like great because that's all I love to do. And
Mhm.
then two, if you do it right, you can both entertain and bring up really kind of scary topics, in popular culture that we don't really know how to talk about in any other way.
Mhm.
And I felt as a gay man, it's almost impossible to tell, frankly, stories about gay men and queer relationships and lives in the mainstream. But I can tell a story about women because not only was I literally raised in a village of women, but being a queer boy, there's a symbiosis between the two communities, and I can speak to the violence that I see being perpetrated to, you know, a group of people that I sort of credit with all of the best things about culture and society, Black women. And I have a personal experience with that because not only was I raised by my mom, as a single parent, but I was raised in a village of very strong Black women. I just wanted to tell a story about them. And I wanted to use the horror narrative and genre and gears and whistles to sort of interrogate this system that is constantly convincing us to sort of make ourselves available to exploitation. And particularly with regards to women, it is just so egregious and it's so violent.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to just say, look at this, America. And I wanted it to be in the middle of pop culture. So, it's in this fun, campy, ridiculous movie and premise. But what I'm talking about is actually, I think pretty urgent and serious.
No, absolutely. one thing that I want to point out before, because I do want to talk about the cast. Your advertising or marketing on the Instagram page. Oh my goodness. Like that's, I mean, genius. Like you really
I know.
like
We
who
didn't even.
was it your idea or who came up with this? Because, and these are real life ads for people who
Yeah.
onto the Bad Hair Film Instagram page. Please go check it out. Like, oh gosh, I was like, wow, it literally, it just in that in itself told exactly what, without many words, what this film is going to be about and the
Yeah.
story journey of Black women in our relationship with our hair.
Yeah. When you can see, when you look back at advertising in the past, you can really see it. You can really see the subtext. You can really see what they're trying to convince you of
Mm-hmm.
in order to give up your coins, you know, for something. And you don't really have to say much about it. It already exists. I don't have to make something new. It's just there. It's just very much there. They're trying to make people ashamed of what they look like and who they naturally are. And that's what's driving so much of this. It's not our, you know, but it's given to us as if it's our liberation, as if it's our freedom. Oh, we're free to do whatever we want with our hair, and oh, look, Black culture is popping, and all that's true. But we're being sold some bullshit so that we like open up our pocketbooks and open up our minds to feeling less than. And those advertisements were really one of the first things that I found as part of my research process when I decided the movie needed to be in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
That it was just, you know, I just started collecting this stuff. And so, you know, getting ready for Sundance, nobody, you know, the producers didn't really want to put too much out there. They wanted the movie to be discovered at Sundance, and for when it to, you know, eventually was rolled out, for that to be the moment, you know. But they let me put up those ads because it was kind of a teaser, and it didn't quite give anything specific away, but like it just gave you the vibe.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally, I was like, who did this? I
My
was
shady ass.
no, not even. But I mean, it's shade and truth, you know, like
Yeah, I mean that's why we have shade.
right. Oh, exactly.
Because sometimes we get in trouble for saying the truth too loud, so we have to throw shade.
Okay, okay. But no, tell me about your cast. I love that you brought Ashley Blaine Featherston back from
Adore her.
seriously, like, and tell me about your lead, Ella Lorraine, um, Kelly D. Rowland. How did you cast together?
It was honestly, you know, we had a great casting director named Carmen Cuba, but it came down to conversations. You know, it's like me and Laverne just had a real fucking conversation about what the movie was meant to say and how that affected her life. And I cast people who were right for the roles, but also people who sort of like felt a mission kind of thing about the movie and felt like they wanted to be a part of something that was saying this. And you know, Ashley, who's like just part of the crew, my crew of just, you know, talented fucking people that are orbiting and that I get to orbit. You know, she read for the character in table reads. We actually made some of those songs in demo form. You know, a lot of other writer directors sort of have been involved in various stages of me sort of testing out the story and, you know, reading it and getting opinions and stuff. And you know, that's really, it was a very organic process. But yeah, like, you know, people like Kelly, these were just people that I was just like, I love them, and we met and it worked out and they were great, and you know, it just made sense to do it with them. And Elle I've known since high school, actually.
Okay,
And there were a lot of, you know, there were a lot of big names, and there were a lot of people that we were looking at for the role. And I just said, you know, you should really just come in and just audition. And it's one of those things. It's like, you know, some of the stuff you don't really have a choice. It's just the right person walks into the room, and you just know that that's the person that needs this particular role.
absolutely.
And that's how I felt with Elle. And I think that's what proved to be true.
I watched your Variety interview, and what was it like listening to your cast talk about their stories and their relationships with their hair?
Mm,
I mean, one thing that I love again about you is that as a Black man, you love telling the stories of Black women and you love appreciating Black women. And I know that's honestly a conversation that a lot of Black women are having right now. In the
mm,
us caring about one another, a lot of Black women are questioning the love and the admiration that Black men have for Black.
yeah.
What is it like telling so many stories about Black women? And do you think that what do you feel like it's important for Black men to express themselves? I mean, obviously, I think that,
Mm.
but what, in your opinion, as a Black man, do you feel is your role in being in that?
Well, I have to include queer into
Yeah.
that because I'm not just a Black man, I'm a Black queer man. And that is a altogether different situation.
Mhm.
And I think that, like, again, I would not have been allowed to figure out who I am without Black women. Like, there isn't space for me in Black masculinity, particularly in the times that I grew up in the South, in the cultures that I experienced. So, the only spaces where I can be myself and literally be like, mom and, Nana, that's what I call my godmother, come watch me like perform bad for the 18th, 100th time today and lip sync. That is some gay Black boy shit, okay? No men in the family had time for that. You know what I'm saying? For him to do bad in the way you make me feel for the 18th other time today. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like in ways big and small, there's a symbiosis between, uh, you know, I feel like Black women and gay Black men, it's like we're both persecuted in different ways by the society, and we both have privileges that are different and complementary. And
Yes.
there's a relationship that is just ingrained there. And so for me, it's like, I live in a system where, like, I don't actually get called for Moonlight or Black Panther, okay? And I love Ryan and Barry. But the queer filmmakers, we don't get called for that. What we have an opportunity to do is to tell women's stories, and so that's what I try to do. And I happen to be friends with a lot of Black women that I think are very talented, and so it's very easy for me to sort of draw on those muses and bring them in. And the other thing that it allows me to do is, like, when I'm putting together a writer's room or picking directors for a show, to watch Black women who I think are the future of cinema, um, and who I just think have things to say that we haven't even thought of,
Yeah.
when it comes to movies and cinema and stuff. I get to sort of be on the front line of that and use my male privilege, hopefully, to some good in that
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely. I do have some super random questions
Oh,
for
I
you.
love random. I'm sorry, I'm letting my cat in.
No, oh my gosh, love cats.
Hi, Taylor. She knew I was on a call, so she had to come through.
What kind of cat do you have?
I don't know what she is. She's small. And we
Oh,
rescued her, and she had the name Taylor. We think her previous owner named her after Taylor Swift, and she's one of my favorite people in the whole world. Hi, Taylor.
oh, see, and I love cats too. And it's so many people that be like, "Oh, well, it's weird if Black people have cats," and I'm like, "No, you're weird."
You're
Cats,
weird. Get over it. They're
exactly,
the best.
exactly. They really are, and they're good for relaxation too. Because dogs, sometimes get a little too much.
I
Little,
know they're great, and they have very specific relationships with you, and they're shady, and it's so fun.
and like I love any animal that's like, look, I will reserve my energy for me when I'm ready.
Yes. And I
Period.
will let you know how I want to be pet and when. And I will
Exactly.
walk away when the encounter is over. I'm just like,
Right.
I'm like, they teach me how to live.
They really do. I love it independent. Okay. But so I'm always intrigued by what Black creatives did before they popped. So you were also fact check this too, just to make sure I did my own research,
For
but
sure.
sure. So you were a social media manager at Sony Pictures and publicity assistant at Focus Features. Yeah.
Yeah, I did publicity for about 8 years under various titles, but I worked at Focus Features for a while, kind of working my way up the ranks. I did start there as an assistant, and then I worked at Paramount as well, and their online publicity team, and then I went to Sony, and then eventually Participant Media, just doing versions of the same thing.
Was that well, I guess I'll say when was the journey point for directing? Like when did you start to see like, okay, I'm gonna be done with this?
Honestly, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think it's when I came back home from Beauty and the Beast. No, I think it actually might have been Little Mermaid. And I knew from a very young age that I wanted to create the things that you go to the movies and see on TV. I didn't know what that job was called for a long time. And I thought maybe I should be a comic book artist because I would try to, like, draw little visual stories, but I am terrible at that. And so, I remember, like watching the credits for, like, the X-Men cartoon or something and seeing the words director and producer and just thinking it must be one of those jobs. But,
Mm-hmm.
like, I've wanted to do it since I was literally a kid, and I can't even explain that because nobody in my family understood it then. And I have no idea where that came from, but I just always wanted to do that. And so I've always been trying to work towards it, like at the same time as, pay my bills and
Right.
run this crazy industry. And so like, while I was at Focus, I made a web series called Instant Messages. I made shorts. I cut a bunch of stuff. Lena at that time was kind of dipping into directing. I edited some of her stuff. I directed some of her stuff. I was just always trying to work on something.
Mm-hmm.
And Dear White People was a feature that I'd been working on since college. And I don't know. I just decided one day by hook or by crook, like this has to be my first movie, and I just have to fucking go for it. And so, it was a journey, but it was all kind of happening like in parallel with the other stuff.
Absolutely. See,
Yeah.
so the best advice if for Black creatives and any creative, but if you are working in the industry and you still, what your real goal is not at the moment what you are working on, still things at the same time. Always be making your own.
Well, the truth of the matter is that like without that 8 years of publicity and marketing experience working on things like Brokeback Mountain, Pariah, Paranormal Activity, these things that were either niche or small, but that we were trying to figure out how to make them global, national, you know, projects, I wouldn't have been able to get Dear White People financed and made without that experience either. And so the other thing I want to add to that is just nothing is wasted. If you're in this industry, you may not love what you're doing, but like every piece of knowledge is so fucking valuable, especially for us because we're denied access to this industry and access to mentorships and access to information. And so, I know a lot more, frankly, about how to sell my movie than I think a lot of directors just do because they made it sooner than I did, I guess. I don't know. But I had to figure that out or else I wouldn't have gotten Dear White People made. That marketing campaign came first because it was possible to make a marketing campaign before it was possible to make that movie. And yeah, so I look back on it with a lot of fucking gratitude and like thank God. Because
Well,
otherwise I don't know if I would have ever figured it out how to make my own break happen.
well, and then honestly too, I mean, and then you have, the genius that is that bad hair Instagram page. I mean, I was no, you props for that. Like that was come on, Justin. Like I was literally like, if not Justin, then who? Because I literally heard people as soon as I saw it, I was like, what is this? And it's also just so shocking. I could talk about that page forever.
Yeah.
Please, y'all go.
And it's all
But
real. It's not doctored in
right,
any way. It's just these are just ads that existed.
right, exactly. But I don't want to keep any more much longer. But I want to get into my little fan.
Okay, yeah, please.
So not only have I been watching you through the years, but I got to watch you up close too. So
Oh.
volume one of Dear White, yes, one of Dear White People. I was one of your background actors.
Oh my God. Okay, because you've looked so familiar to me. That explains everything, actually.
No, I'm literally, and I mean, I've interviewed you several times though, not several times, but like 3 times. I have you on my Hold on, I'm about to scroll through. I have a picture. So that's me.
Yes.
The
Okay.
background.
Yes. With the okay, come on, background.
Yes.
Okay, that's doing my picture. I'm trying to blow up your pictures, blowing up my picture. Wow, you better be in that scene.
Listen.
I remember, I remember you too. I feel I'm terrible with like names and shit, but like I do remember faces, and I remembered your face from that.
Listen, literally every time that I was on a carpet, I was like, I need to get Justin. I need to get, but I literally was like, I don't want to bring this up because he's probably gonna think I'm a freak. But literally, this was
No.
because I was like, I just need him to know, like, I've been there from the beginning. Like,
Aw, you're so sweet. Thank you.
thank you so much for joining Where's the Buzz TV. Major shout out to you, everyone. Okay, so do we have an expected date for?
That hair?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna plug things. First of all, my podcast Don't At Me is back.
Yes.
It's Don't at symbol me with Justin Simien, and it's lit. And I'll be having shady ass fly on the wall conversations, and this season is no different. So check out the podcast. Dear White People hopefully will come back at some point, maybe next year. But Bad Hair is coming on the 23rd of October on Hulu and possibly some other places. I don't think I can talk about that yet, but definitely will be on Hulu. And it's a lot. So get ready to, have a discussion. I don't know how you could watch that movie and not want to talk about it. So
because you said you're going to possibly have a theatrical rollout too.
possible, yeah. It's obviously COVID's happening, but yeah, I think hopefully we'll be able to announce some stuff on that front soon.
Absolutely. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, Justin. Okay, but congratulations, being more blessings, prayers coming down onto you. I really, you are a gem. You are needed in the industry as a Black creative, as a queer Black creative. You are dope.
Thank you.
But yes, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. And this is a wonderful Instagram. So thanks for having me on it.
Yeah. Thank you. See
All
you.
right. Bye. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Bye.
Where is the buzz? You said was mine.